After 6 years of relentless pursuit of its mandate of infrastructure renewal and expansion across the country, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has indeed surpassed successive administrations in terms of commitment, scale, and speed. Mr. Babatunde Fashola, SAN, who was appointed minister to oversee the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, was retained in President Buhari's second term as Minister of Works and Housing. Since then, the ministry with its agencies has focused on carrying out the mandate of massive infrastructure renewal and development at a scale that the country has not witnessed in a long time.
When countries spend on infrastructure, they have many things that they seek to achieve. First of all, they seek to grow the size of support that will drive their economy. There is no part of the country in terms of political zones that is left behind, even if you see that our choice was first economic strategy. There was a road, I think, that one of the lecturers said used to take them 15 minutes to travel. It's now a 5-minute journey. There was one that students didn't go to classes enough, and students are now back in full force, and they can walk through their campus because it's supposed to be a community.
The taste of the pudding is actually in the eating. The commuters will tell you now the roads are better than in 2015. We now have not only better pavements to drive on, even though we're still constructing. You have lane marking, you have highway signages to guide you. All of this were not there in 2015. So certainly we're in a much better place.
In tune with the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, which identifies road transport infrastructure as being critical for national economic growth and prosperity of citizens, the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has, since 2015, ensured that critical federal roads in all the geopolitical zones of the country are being rehabilitated, repaired, or reconstructed. For this level of attention on our roads and bridges to be achieved, the Muhammadu Buhari administration, through the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, has demonstrated the will to ensure its success in this direction. The budget for the rehabilitation of roads and bridges has significantly increased, and the ministry, in collaboration with other agencies of government, has been encouraged to come up with alternative sources of funding for this purpose. Engineer Abubakar D. Aliyu, FNSE, is the immediate past Honorable Minister of State, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, recently deployed by Mr. President to oversee the Ministry of Power. He explains.
This is a scheme that was deployed to build some roads in Lagos, in Abajana, which Dangote is using to build some of our roads in Lagos and in Kogi. But one thing that you realize with this, the investor will look for the road that he has interest in. whatever it is. That's why you see most of these tax credit roads are done close to where they have interest, where they have their factories and, so, but all the same, it is not only them that use the road, it's a Nigerian road and it's our road, it's owned by government and everybody will use the road. And the end justifies the means. So this is one. Then the Sukuk funding, where the Islamic Development Bank invest money on the road, and this is another way of getting funding for our infrastructure. And the Sovereign Wealth Investment Fund, whereby the president set up the infrastructure, the PIDF. So the PIDF is the one handling the projects. Now the funding is coming from the Sovereign Wealth Investment. So NSIA is the one managing that funding. So we are the one doing the construction.
The Federal Ministry of Works and Housing is mostly populated by professionals in relevant fields. For a ministry of this nature to succeed, emphasis must be placed on training and retraining of its staff to keep them abreast of modern trends in their various fields. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Mr. Babangida Hussaini, speaks on this.
The Ministry of Works and Housing, of course, is the collection of professionals who are expected to supervise and to see to the implementation of these programs. To that extent, you must train and retrain your staff to keep them at par with their colleagues elsewhere. At the same time, to expose them to the new way of doing things. The evolution of knowledge, as you know, is quite fast. What you know yesterday may be obsolete today. I can just tell you, if you remember the Nokia 3310, compare it with what we are having today. That's to show you how knowledge has evolved over the years. So to keep at par and to ensure that our staff are properly trained and motivated to supervise and implement these projects, we have to send them on refresher training programs, professional mandatory training programs, and also on-the-job training program. Some of them, even when they come in newly, they have to go in through what we call pupillage under the supervision of very senior and experienced officers. This is all to prepare them for the responsibility that they are going to be shouldering in implementing the programs of the ministry. So having said this, I can assure you that the ministry has been done very well in the area of training and retraining our staff, both at home and abroad. Professional bodies also regulate the training of their members. Here we have the COREN, Council for the Registration of Engineers in Nigeria, the NIA, Institute of Architects, the Carbon, and all of those professional bodies design refresher training program for their members to enable them be at pace with the practices in the industry globally. So I think the ministry has done well in that area, and we have empowered our staff to compete with the very best anywhere in the world.
The impact of the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, also known as FPAM, before now was minimal, but in recent times, the agency has shown more commitment in ensuring that federal roads are maintained, having been provided more resources to discharge its responsibility. Under the 2021 fiscal year alone, FEMA has scheduled maintenance of 5,461.88 kilometers of roads. Engineer Nuruddin A. Rafindadi, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the agency, attributes this to the excellent relationship with the supervising ministry and the good inter-agency relationship that exists amongst the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and its agencies.
I took a brief review of the situation that FEMA was and what things that we needed to do immediately so that we can get quick wins, but what things we need to do in the longer term so that we can get sustainable improvement on FEMA. And I must tell you that one of the strong points that I've had that enables the achievement, the modest achievement that we'll be able to record, is an excellent relationship with the supervising ministry. and in particular, a very respectful relationship with His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, Honorable Babatunde Raji Fashola. If the ministry is taking a major rehabilitation or repair works on the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, we sit with the ministry officials and find out for that period what are the alternative routes that vehicles and traffic will be forced to follow in the absence of that arm of the Third Mainland Bridge. And that is our responsibility. So we sit with the ministry and chart out those alternative routes and assess what they need and what needs to be done in what period of time. And we try to meet those targets. And that sort of gives the ministry confidence that there is an agency that is giving it a backstop to support its activities.
With its housing sector essentially responsible for laying out policy guidelines, the ministry has completed the first phase of the National Housing Program in 34 states of the country, while the second and third phases in some of the states are progressing at various stages of completion. The ministry has also spearheaded the creation of a maintenance economy. The country, for the first time, has a National Public Buildings Maintenance Policy, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council (FEC) on the 9th of January 2019, following a memo presented by the Honorable Minister. This has also led to the creation of the Department of Federal Public Asset Maintenance (FPAM) within the ministry and subsequent rehabilitation and maintenance of 24 federal secretariats across the country, in addition to 6 new ones being built by the Buhari administration in states that had none before. The major housing development component of the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing is handled by the Federal Housing Authority. They are saddled with the responsibility of providing decent and affordable housing for Nigerians. They also are expected to come up with innovations that will ensure that the average Nigerian has access to decent accommodation.
On the part of the Federal Housing Authority, we set out from 2015 to ensure that the authority did not rely on the existing land areas that they had. So they went out to solicit support from the states, and the responses have been quite good. We've been able to latch in on what we met on ground and bring in a lot of, ideas and innovations to be able to meet the expectations of the people and the goals of the president and, of course, the Honorable Minister Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, who is in charge of works and housing. Part of what we did in the first was to see how we can pick on about 2 or 3 of our projects that are well known. One of them is Festac. We found out that the infrastructure had really gone down. So it needed some regeneration. Of course, we made some efforts on ground, but what we did was to now call a meeting of all the stakeholders, starting from the residents, very powerful resident association. We involved the state government, the local government, and the world leaders. Permit me to say that even the members of the houses of representatives as well as the House of Assembly, who cover the area, were invited, and everybody were able to latch in on an idea of bringing in the private sector to assist in enhancing the aesthetic value as well as the infrastructural deficit that we are meeting there.
Making house ownership easy for the average Nigerian is key to achieving the dream of better housing for the citizens, and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria over the years has been saddled with this responsibility. However, the successes recorded in the past 6 years in this direction have been significant. More Nigerians are aware of the activities of the bank and are taking advantage of their services. More Nigerians have access to mortgage loans through the bank, and better packages have been introduced for subscribers.
Before 2015, when the President Buhari came into power, the total contribution of NHF scheme was just 234 billion that has been contributed. But currently we have 434 billion. So over 200 billion was acquired within the last, I can say 6 years. That has been done within the 25 years that 234 billion naira was acquired. And people tend to now have a lot of confidence on the NHF scheme, because when you retire, you get refunded. Before 2015, only 10 billion naira was refunded to Nigerians. But currently, between 2015 to now, we have refunded over 35 billion refunds to Nigerians who contributed, either they died or they exited or they retired.
These successes recorded by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing can be attributed to the collaborative efforts with its agencies. The primary mandate of the ministry is to build and maintain federal roads and bridges, and the first set of professionals needed for this are surveyors. The Surveyor General's Office is the mapping headquarters of the country. The office has been invaluable to the success story of the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. The agency on its own has also recorded achievements for increased efficiency.
The data center is where we house our geospatial information that we have been acquired over the years. And this will make it available to the member of the public. It's going to be a kind of a one-stop shop if you want to buy maps, if you want to buy information. Like for instance, if you are being given construction job to do and you want to do your design, like I said earlier on, you need to know the maps and then what the area you wanted to work looks like. You need the map to really tell you so that you can really start your planning and then start getting your information from it. You'll be able to hit that data center and you'll be able to examine and view what we have, and then you'll be able to procure what you wanted to procure. We have been able to do that. We have been able to establish a kind of commercial business department where we'll be able to do some works for other agencies, and then this will improve some of the area. We have been able to establish gauges, tidal gauges. We do hydrography. We have an hydrography department to really monitor our water bodies, to know if the sea station are much, so that we can be able to do bathymetric survey, and then we will know the behavior and then the level of water. We've been able to establish and to install some gauges in some river, along Lokoja River, even along the Odi River and in some other places. We have been able to install some gauges there. We've been able to monitor some bridges in Nigeria. A lot of people don't know that we have to monitor bridges. We are just setting up our climate change department. You see, we have been talking about climate. We have to know what the climate is all about. The whole world is changing, the climate is changing. We have the heating of the ozone layer, the rising of the water bodies in the sea. We also know about some of the melting down of the glaciers in some hills. So the facilities to be able for us to monitor the data, the climate, we have also been putting them together. We have been able to even do a kind of a survey of underground materials, where we just roll across to see where there are cables, in case some people wanted to dig across the road, so they will not cut very important cables. They normally come to us to actually determine how many cables are underground, and then we can actually do some of those things for them. We have been doing that.
Surveying is a science of accuracy and precision. A single mistake by a surveyor can cost hundreds of lives and infrastructure worth billions of naira. To ensure that there are no quacks practicing in Nigeria, the Surveyors Council of Nigeria has intensified efforts to register and license qualified surveyors and survey companies, assist institutions with modern technological inputs, and ensure that best international practices are adhered to in the country.
In 2015, we had less than 2,000 or 2,200 surveyors. That's the whole nation. The whole nation. But 2015 to date, we have like 4,651 surveyors. So that tells you that more than 50% of all registered surveyors in Nigeria today, they have been registered from 2015 to date.
The Council for the Regulation of Engineers in Nigeria, also known as COREN, is a regulatory body under the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing saddled with the responsibility of licensing engineers in Nigeria. They also have the obligation of monitoring engineering projects all over the country to ensure that they meet international standards. All engineers in the Ministry of Works and Housing are registered members of COREN.
From 2015 to date, we have registered over 30,000 engineers. Over 30,000 engineers. Then about 2,000 engineering technologists. So we have registered almost 2,000 technologists, about 150 technicians, 200 craftsmen or thereabout. This is quite an achievement because before then, engineering practitioners used to shy away from coming to COREN to register. People didn't know the import or the importance of registering with COREN.
As Ministry of Power, Works and Housing between 2015 and 2019, the power sector benefited immensely from clear policy guidelines aimed at improving the value chain of power generation, transmission and distribution. Rooted in the Honorable Minister's clear understanding of the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, EPSRA of 2005, which led to the privatization which took place in 2013, some of the policies include an energy mix document for the country, meter asset providers MAP, declaration of eligible customer under Section 27 of EPSRA, and mini-grid policy, amongst others. Some major projects were carried out and several bottlenecks were cleared to allow for speedy completion of hitherto stalled power projects all over the country with direct impact in terms of improved power supply and job creation. Without a doubt, the unprecedented investment of the administration of President Buhari in critical infrastructure across the country at a period the nation is earning much less revenue from oil is bearing fruits as road infrastructure projects hitherto described as most difficult projects are now making steady progress. Indeed, while some are already completed, others are rapidly ongoing with completion timelines in view. Recently, the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola SAN, took a nationwide tour to inspect some of the major ongoing projects being executed by his ministry.
People in Rotaba have no cause to fear. They have no cause to be unhappy. One by one, block by block, inch by inch, and kilometer by kilometer, not only will we complete this project, we will get inside Ataba town. There is progress, as you understand. I tell people what the Buhari administration is doing here is monumental work. Keeping traffic moving, almost 50,000 vehicles per day while constructing. That is heavy lifting. The last time we came here, the majority of the works was on the Onitsha bound lane of the bridge. Now work has progressed on the Asaba bound lane, and so you see behind us, as the project manager said to us, this is nearly completed now. It's just about 75 meters, and you have full completion on this axis, and they will connect the remaining part there very soon. And he assures us, I think, yes, that by February next year, the entire length of the bridge will be fully connected. My own view of our role as a progressive government is to improve the human condition. And you see that this road ticks all the boxes about improving the human condition. First, the primary purpose is to drive the economy, create work, and so far so good. not only do we have contractors working in almost all the states, we are now in some states in phase 3. In some states, many states now we're in phase 2. And that's why you will see completed houses and also houses finishing.
The achievements recorded by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and its agencies over the last 6 years are not a fluke. They are products of focused leadership, planning, interagency collaboration, hard work, and most of all, the will of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration to deliver world-class infrastructure to the people of Nigeria and create thousands of jobs for Nigerians in the process. Indeed, job creation and economic growth, as well as fostering of prosperity for the citizenry, are at the core of most of the activities of the ministry, whether in roads and housing construction, rehabilitation, and most especially facility maintenance, which has become a key focus of the administration. Nigerians can attest to the fact that we now have better roads and bridges all over the country, fitted with lane markings and road furniture, which had disappeared from our roads over time. Indeed, progressive politics, which is the improvement of human condition, and which the current administration, formed by the All Progressives Congress under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, is now making more meaning to the citizenry through improved infrastructure. As the nation commemorates its 61st anniversary as an independent nation, it now behoves on us to take ownership of these assets and use them with a sense of responsibility and patriotism.